So John Lynch, a.k.a. the Thief in the Night, had himself quite the busy offseason. You're listening to West Coast Offense, a 49ers podcast. We're going to be talking about the top 5 biggest moves of the 49ers offseason. My name is Caesar, and I got my big brother Al with me. What up, bro?
Hey, what's up, man?
Dude, so this is episode 3, West Coast Offense 49ers podcast. Shout out to everybody listening, watching on YouTube. You can watch all of our content on YouTube. You can also listen on Apple Podcasts. Also, tell us what you guys think are the biggest moves of this season with the 49ers. And because John Lynch was he's quite the busy boy this offseason. We're going to be getting into just the trades, the re-signing of players, free agency, all that kind of stuff. We talked about the draft on episode 1, so we want to focus more so on the other moves that we haven't got a chance to talk about on this podcast. Yeah. So you ready to get into this, bro?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, cool. So I'm with a heavy heart. Our first topic is one that I'm still not over, and that's the big homie Joe Staley retiring. I don't think we've got a chance.
74.
Shout out 74, man, a Niner legend forever. It still feels like there's some unfinished business that'll always just remain unfinished because we didn't get Joe Staley that Super Bowl ring. But what are your thoughts, man? How do you feel like this is going to affect the Niners this upcoming season?
I think, it affected them in the way of another topic that we're going to get into with another left tackle that we got from Washington. But I think it's going to affect them as far as probably the locker room. Someone who's had, so much time there with the San Francisco 49ers. Somebody that people looked up to, like McGlinchey, that was his boy.
Big Mike,
so,
so
he showed him the way, yeah. So it's like, Mike didn't think he was going to get there and have a friend in Joe Staley, and he did. And someone, probably showed the guys there how to be a 49er. He came from Candlestick to here to Santa Clara. So, it showed a lot. I think, if anything, one of the bigger impacts is probably going to be in the locker room.
That's what it kind of feels like because honestly, the hit isn't as big on the field, and you could actually argue that they might be better now because of acquiring the big left tackle Trent Williams from the Redskins. Yeah. But it does feel like Joe Staley, man, the no more Joe show, or maybe we will still get the Joe show. Like
I hope we do get something out of that. You know what I mean?
Maybe he's gonna take a little bit of a year hiatus, man, just like maybe, on some Jay Leno shit, and then come back, and it'll be like just a whole different type of Joe show, and hopefully he still get that access to the locker room. But I like what you said. He showed how to be a Niner, playing through injuries, his passion for the game, and like just his will to win, man, and playing through breaking his eye socket and earlier this season. I don't even remember the goddamn injury. It was a nasty one, against the Bengals, and then coming back, and that's got to be like infectious because you're like, that's a leader right there. That's a leader in the locker room, and he's the elder statesman, man. And we have Garrett Selleck. Did Garrett Selleck, did he officially retire? I think he's officially retired now, right?
He officially retired. Yeah.
Okay, and now we got Joe Staley. It's like two of the top 2 longest tenured 49ers who are no longer going to be wearing the red and gold anymore. So it's going to force other players to take on that more of a leadership role. We're going to be asking more of Kittle and Jimmy. Yeah. I think they were going to be taking those leaps and bounds anyway, but it's much more. It's going to be much more of needed them to be like, all right, we're the fucking, we're the leaders of this locker room now, man. So you're right. I think it's going to have such an impact in the locker room more than anything. It kind of feels that
more
way.
Than anything. Yeah, that's what I think. I mean, because he went through a different era. He was there in the Harbaugh era, so it was. Yeah. He saw those glory days. He was there. Again, all that time at Candlestick. And then come over and seeing something in the making here, and what made him come back. What Kyle said. Let's have a run at this. And he saw what was going on, and you saw the emotion up in Seattle. Last game of the decade. He knew what it meant, and no one else on that field knows what it means to that team in the last 10 years of what we've been going through against the Seahawks. And if you knew how he felt, like I felt like he felt, when that game was over. You know what I mean?
Fuck
like,
yeah. Hell yeah.
he was me on the field. Like me as a fan, I was like, yes, what I'm talking about. He knows the struggles,
some
man.
demons were exercised in that game, man, and it would have just been so nice. It's always going to be this. Because that Super Bowl was for Joe, and we didn't get it.
It was.
And it was definitely for him, and it would just been nice to seeing Big 74 just ride on into the sunset. I always think about, what is that like? Was that Pepsi commercial or Coca-Cola commercial where he's like doing the worm? I just picture him like in the end zone with the Lombardi just doing the worm and like, all right, I'm calling it a career now. And it would make it that much more sweet seeing like, oh shit, now we got Trent Williams now. I mean, not to say that I'm mad at us getting Trent Williams, but it would have just been like an easier like transition for me. Like, all right, we got Joe the Super Bowl, we're champs now, and we can welcome Trent Williams with open arms. And like, not to say that he's a great player, but what kind of locker room guy is he? And maybe that doesn't even fucking matter because the locker room seems super solid. Yeah. But so that was definitely, man, with the heavy heart we got to talk about, Joe Staley. But it does feel like Big Joe's going to be around. Like he's going to probably take a year off in the media. Put him in the Monday Night Football.
I don't see how
man. Fuck it.
How do the Niners not bring him back in some capacity? You know what I mean? Like he's gonna be around. He's gonna be around just like Jerry's around, and Jerry's around all the time on the field. You know what I mean? The NFC Championship game.
I mean, there's another Joe
that's running.
He was running routes,
he was running a 40-yard. He was up there running a 40-yard dash on the field in his suit. That's how juiced he was for that game.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean? I think Joe's gonna be there in some capacity, but I mean, he should take some time off. You got to. At one point, you do got to think about life after football, and I applaud him for making those decisions. I'm sure he wants to be out there, just like anybody. Wish we had that one more shot. But I wish we could have got it for him. But he had a good career with the Niners. So,
and he's gonna be just a great ambassador for the red and gold, man. Like that. Exactly. That is gonna be something. Actually, I'm very excited to see. So, Joe Staley, a hell of a career. We tip our caps. The next move that we're gonna talk about is also, man, we're 2 stories back to back. We're gonna be talking about losses and trading DeForest Buckner. That was lightweight of a shocker when it happened because I thought that at least maybe he would play out the season and then maybe the Niners franchise him or whatever, and then who knows what happens. But felt like it was not necessarily a premature move, but it was the right move, I think. I just didn't really see it coming. But they traded DeForest Buckner to the Colts. I'm going to miss his little broom celebration. That shit always got me hella hyped, bro.
His third down broom celebration.
I'm going to miss those, man. I'm going to still keep doing that in his honor. I hope Armstead. Actually, no, we got to leave Defoe. He's going to take that to Indianapolis, man. But I'll probably be still doing it in my room and stuff after maybe Armstead gets a sack or Bosa or something.
Yeah. Hey, it's funny because you bring up Armstead and What I was surprised, Defoe was who you wanted. He showed up last year. He wasn't as impactful, I think, but he still was on the line with a bunch of Pro Bowlers. You know what I mean? So it's just like, all right, he
got
was
lost
there.
In the
he was
shuffle.
Durable, right? A little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and I think he still, when they gave Armstead the extension, I was like, what does that mean for DeForest Buckner? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like. It was shocking. That's why I was like, wait a minute. Can we keep both? Or what are they going to do here? Because I thought it was going to be the other way with Defoe. But it does make sense, and it makes sense in a financial standpoint of it. That's where it makes more sense than anything. You just can't pay everybody millions upon millions of dollars. Like, the team will fall apart because there's just too many players that need to be paid. So, with Kittle coming up and things like that. So, it was a shocker. In exchange, we did get a number 13 overall pick, and a guy that we've already spoken.
We didn't lose him for nothing. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, they knew what they were doing. They needed to fill that hole, that void that he left there. When Armstead is more. I just don't want him to be tied together. I've already seen articles about Armstead, why they gave him the money and not him. Not Defoe, and like let's not pin them to I'm sure they're good. They're friends and things like that.
Yeah,
put articles like that. That's ugly.
Together and shit. Yeah,
it's like. I don't expect, one player for the other. I don't expect Kinlaw to come in and beat Defoe. You know what I mean? But I do expect that he will play well. But, it just stinks from that point of view. I just really, DeForest Buckner, another loss, like you said. Like,
and this feels
he was
like
a good player.
Oh, man, and one of those players that you felt when we were, under what Tom Sula's reign and just and the Chip Kelly, that whole fiasco. You put a lot of all right, default when we get good, or if we ever get good, that's going to be a cornerstone player. And it would have been nice to see him also get a Super Bowl. All right, he was there when we weren't so great, and then went through the it would have been a short-lived journey, but also been nice for him to get a Super Bowl ring as well. But it's interesting. John Lynch, man, putting that Stanford graduation to use. He didn't let him walk away for nothing. And even though this feels that it could, out of the two losses, Joe Staley and DeForest Buckner retiring, you feel the impact less on the field with Joe Staley because we get Trent Williams, and you might feel we don't know what Kinlaw is, so you may have such a negative impact because he's unproven. He hasn't done anything in the league yet. And we had DeForest Buckner who besides last season was steadily getting better each and every single year. Yeah, and this might have this crazy ripple effect across the entire D-line. The strength of D-line was, they were all first-round picks, but also the depth and just the strength in numbers. So if Kinlaw doesn't come in and perform and he's not anywhere near close to the player that DeForest Buckner was, and now we're saying that he has to play to that level, but he's not really truly producing. How does this affect the rest of the defensive line? So this has an opportunity to kind of backfire, and especially with Armstead only doing it for 1 year, he needs to come and do it again. So
I know it feels he had his breakout season, obviously. You know what I mean? He had 12 sacks. 19 games, which included the postseason. He had numbers, and he showed up. There was key moments in games where you're like, oh, Armstead got there, and sometimes you were like, oh, that's Defoe, and I was like, oh, wait a minute, you know what I mean? Yeah. Armstead showed up, so they're banking on that he's gonna break out, and that breakout happened, and that breakout isn't just a 1 year fluke; it's just gonna continue on. That's just gonna be he found his stride, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's going to carry on, and especially with Bosa, with the line with Kinlaw and, some players coming back. I think they're just banking on the fact that, he's going to continue to do what he's doing,
Most definitely.
So he fit well in this defensive line and this scheme, and, he got to show it again next year. So
you got to, man. You got to put those numbers up again in consecutive years. And I think this also, I like how before – we move on to the next move of the offseason, is that Lynch, he didn't trade him away to just the wasteland of the NFL. He didn't trade him to Cincinnati. He didn't trade him to fucking Cleveland. I guess I'm just naming off all the AFC North teams and shit, but he traded him to the Colts. They're a really well-run organization. Yep. Yeah, they had a kind of a down season last year, but I mean, you like Chris Ballard and Frank Reich, and the guy Phillip Rivers. They may do some things. That seems like an up-and-coming team too. So it just shown in that, all right, we're not going to be able to. If you come to the Niners, you get drafted. Yeah. Well, he's shown you that, one, if you perform, you're going to get paid. And even in Jimmy Ward and Arik Armstead, but also Lynch won't do you dirty like that and just trade you to the fucking outworld of the NFL NFL teams.
No, you're right. Yeah, you're right. The Colts.
Lynch is a stand-up guy.
I feel like he's on the cusp of the Colts are on the cusp. They're on the come up. They might be. A sneaky team out there. You just don't know. But
sneaky little team, man.
Yeah, and their defense has gotten better, obviously. So I feel like
Yeah, there you go.
It stinks. So another locker room guy. I feel like another good guy. Another good locker room guy. It feels like he's that one player. You're players like playing with him. You know what I mean?
Hell yeah.
It was. So it's another one. You're right. It stinks. He's got to. And I don't think they should be linked together. But it's just they did get drafted on back-to-back years in similar positions. They went to the same college. You know what I mean? It's it was just so many similarities there. You're thinking, man, this is going to be – these guys are going to play together for a while. And for a while there, Armstead didn't do well, and he kind of came back. Yeah. And shown he can play. And Buckner was too. And I was hoping they both would be here some way in some capacity. But – you're right. I think he'll be good in the Colts. Though.
Yeah, I think he's going to perform, and they are going to be kind of linked together just because the Niners clearly made the decision. They chose one over the other. So they re-signed Armstead. So the next biggest move of the 49ers are offseason is re-signing Arik Armstead, 5 years, $85 million. And it's crazy because you see, I guess there was DeForest Buckner on one end, who was this model of consistency, barely missed any games, if any, if I can remember, and improved steadily each and every year. And Armstead, Niner fans were almost to the point where, like, I remember when they franchised him last year, people were up in arms. Like, are we really bringing this dude back? All he does is get injured. He's just a big-ass, tall-ass dude. Yeah. What is he? He's just clogging up space up the middle. So what are we doing? But now we see them both, or a full, healthy Armstead, kind of not really reach his potential, but play up to his potential. And damn, that was probably he put together a better year last season than like any of DeForest Buckner's like best seasons. So like, I guess at their peak, if this is who they are, Armstead might be the better player. So I think they might have made the right decision because he was all over the field last year.
That's true, but Buckner had shown it on the field. You know what I mean? He'd like you said, he was consistent. He was starting a lot of his games that he's played in and everything. So I think who knows what's going to happen. Buckner leaves now. They used to both play inside, right? Defensive tackles on some of these downs. So let's just say this changes. Now they may be doubling Armstead instead of doubling Buckner, because you got to pick one or the other, right? The line, you got to pick who do you want, who do you want to double? Bosa? Who do you want to do? Yeah, exactly. Ford, what are you going to do? Kinlaw, who knows who's going to show up? Whatever the case is. But let's just say maybe the way he's being approached now by opposing offensive lines changes his game. Let's hope that he can rebound, because, the whole thing is people are going to figure out what you do, Now, it's just a cat and mouse kind of game. Like, we're going back and forth. So let's hope whatever offensive lines do, let's hope that he's able to adjust and still continue to be successful.
Yeah, most definitely. And like, he kind of flew underneath the radar a little bit too. He's like, now he's gonna be commanding more attention, essentially. And all the focus was on the number 2 overall pick, Nick Bosa from Ohio State. Like, what's this dude gonna do? And then we already had, like, people already kind of forgot about Solomon Thomas, but shit, they just got D Ford. Like, that man has been balling for the last couple of years. We already know what DeForest Buckner could do, so maybe the shift and the focus wasn't so much on Armstead, which allowed him to shine. But after first couple games, like, this dude was wrecking shit. So you knew that he just wasn't the same player from years prior, but he still put up great numbers, and probably, besides Bosa, was the best player on our defensive line. But he's going to have to do it again. And much more is going to be asked of him this year. I mean, he's going to be playing alongside the rookie, so he's got to just continue playing at a very high level to take some of the leverage off of Javon Kinlaw and some of the other players that are going to be rotating in there, whether it be DJ Jones or Julian Taylor. So it's like they're all kind of like the same age, all like 27, 26, but it kind of feels like he's the vet now. Like, all right, well, you got paid for one, you were a high draft pick, and now much more is going to be asked of you, and can he do it again, I guess, is going to be the big question.
Yeah, I think it is a big question. I think there's someone else too that, I think we're going to talk about, right? Kind of in the same vein, right? Jimmy Ward.
It's a good little segue there. I like that. So let's move on. Might as well move on to Jimmy Ward. So, re-signing Jimmy Ward, free safety, 3 years, $28.5 million. And I think my favorite part of Jimmy Ward coming back is he just had a big middle finger to the Raiders, because apparently they offered him more money. $10 million a year. I think he's averaging.
Is that what the other team was? Because I thought he was like, there was another team, but
there was a mystery team. Whatever.
Yeah, there was a mystery team. Yeah.
All I know is that the report is saying that. So we got 3 years, $28.5 million, which is something like $9.5 million or something on average a year, and the Raiders offered him $10 million a year, but he don't want to play for for the silver and black. Guess he's not feeling Gruden or whatever the case may be, but so he seemed like he wanted to be a Niner. And I think my second favorite part of this was that Lynch believed in this dude. Shanahan said he'd wear this dude's jersey if he could on the sideline. And after all these injuries, so two dudes that they rewarded who had the best years of their careers in Armstead and Jimmy Ward, who battling. I mean, people were calling Jimmy Ward Mr. Glass. There was no love for Jimmy Ward out there, dude. But he comes, and even at the beginning of the year, breaks his collarbone in like May and breaks his finger, misses the first 3 games. Like, oh my God, some things never change. Sunrise in the East, and Jimmy Ward is breaking bones and shit. But he put it all together, man. He put it all together, and we're bringing him back, and I fucking love that.
Yeah, I know. I like it too. Again, another player that put it together, right? Just I think in the same vein as Armstead did, he found his stride. He found what worked for him, and even through again some of the adversity, you got to think that he's thinking the same thing. Like, really, again, I'm getting hurt.
Yeah, well, it's got to be demoralizing.
Yeah, it's got to be. So he flipped it though. He came back, played. I think to where a lot of people probably wanted him to, like his ceiling. Has he reached his ceiling yet? Those type of things. Like, he's reaching his potential. Was something that we've seen, and he made this 1-year deal. He flipped it into a longer term deal. You know what I mean? And the Niners did reward him. And again, let's hope that he can just continue to grow as a player. You know what I mean? Because we need him in the outfield out there. We need him playing safety. I like how he played last year too.
Oh my God! I think that the some of the games or just plays. I think the Rams game, the Week 5 game that really like stood out to me, and then just that hit they laid on Mahomes in the Super Bowl.
Oh my
so it's
Lord.
like, shout out to Mahomes, man. He got back up. I thought that was gonna rattle him, and it kind of did because he didn't really play well for the first like 3 quarters of that game. So maybe it did kind of rattle him, and he had a couple picks.
He pulled up on that slide too. Like he didn't know if he wanted to slide or he wanted to go head up because he must have seen Jimmy's eyes. Like, I'm about to I'm gonna lay the wood on this dude.
Hell yeah, he wanted no part of Jimmy
Ward. He put it on him. No, he didn't. And then because the way he got up and all this, whatever. But you're right. It might have affected him for a while. Like, maybe he doesn't want to do this or that.
Yeah.
But now Jimmy Ward again. He could be a Pro Bowl caliber safety. You know what I mean? Like, that's where he's at. I feel like he just still kind of gaining. He could be one of the top safeties. Let's hope. You know what I mean?
Hell yeah.
In the league.
I think so. And I mean, you could argue that he might have been, like, you talked about him scratching the surface reaching his ceiling, but it seemed like he was, along with Armstead and Jimmy Ward, like, they were probably the 2 most improved players like on the team from last year, from 18 to 19. And then so PFF, his overall grade last year, they ranked him as like the number 6 safety in the entire league. So you see how well he played last season, and the fact that he played 16 games, including the playoffs. So not your traditional 16-game full season, but look how well he played last season and the impact he made on this team, and really solidified the back end of this defense. Where in his first not his first full season because he played like 16 games a couple years ago, but. Right. Like him just finally putting it together. So if he can do it again next season, how much better can he be if he continues to stay healthy? And I guess also feels like wanted and like recharged. Like, all right, we got to the Super Bowl. I got a new deal. They believe in me. Having a franchise that I believe in, I think it could go like such a long way, man. But I love the fact that Jimmy Ward comes back. That he's gonna be red and gold because he really feels like. He was rewarded because of, like I said, it had to been just disheartening to go through all those injuries, and he finally put it together.
And he bounced back, man. He bounced back big. And just like, again, Armstead, him, I think I'm right there with you, 2 of the most probably improved players for the Niners. And they showed up when we needed them, especially in a Super Bowl run type of year. We made it all the way, and all the way there. Couldn't get the job done, but, I mean, these guys are coming back, and that's the big thing. It's like, now you got a taste for it. What are we going to do with this? I
mean, Jimmy Ward is he going to be, like, is he a captain now? I mean, he's the longest tenured Niner. So it's like, DeForest Buckner's no longer. I mean, he was captain, so he had that C on his chest.
How surprising is that, though? How surprising? Jimmy Ward, would you be sitting here and thinking Jimmy Ward's going to be the longest tenured?
Mr. 49? Glass himself, man. I'm not calling him that, but other people are calling him that. I love Jimmy Ward. Shit. But I would love to see that C on his chest, bro. Like, and I love the fact that he changed his name from 20 to 25 to 20. Like, that's great, man. I think I'm gonna get a Jimmy Ward jersey this season, man. I'm with Shanahan. Wear that jersey while I'm in my room. But we'll end this this podcast with the last biggest move of the offseason, and that's the Trent Williams trade. Mm-hmm. He's going to be 32 this year. Mm-hmm. In his contract year, so we traded for him. We'll see what happens. We're guaranteed a year of Trent Williams, but who knows what's going to happen after this. Obviously, replacing Joe Staley at the left tackle position. How do you feel, man? How this is going to play out? I was fucking shocked when they got Trent Williams. It's crazy.
I was shocked too, because the whole time I was like, wait, what is Joe Staley going to be? Were we flipping him? Like, even that short period of time when they made that trade. And I was like, what's going on? Remember we were talking, in text, and I was like, what does this mean? What does that mean? Like, when we got him, it was like, we just lost a Pro Bowler and we just gained a Pro Bowler. And he is a little, I hate using the word older or whatever, but he got pretty much a year off here. He's still a Pro Bowl type of player. You know what I mean? Like, the talent's undeniable. Like, I feel like we almost feel like, to me, it feels like a steal. Like, did we just get a guy who's familiar
the night
or
strikes
even more
again.
Familiar? Yeah, again.
Yeah.
I mean, and then it doesn't stop. I think he's just gonna step in. He knows what Shanahan's doing, because he was there with him for the first 4 years of his career in Washington, as his offensive coordinator. It's beautiful. It's almost like I love it.
That sour taste in your mouth that you get from Joe Staley retiring, it makes it just an easier pill to swallow, because you're like, holy shit, did we just get better? Like I thought Joe Staley retiring meaning we were gonna get worse and we'd have to see fucking like Justin School out there, or like somebody who's who knows what these type of players can be. But we just got fucking Trent Williams for nothing, for a bag of potato chips. That's all we got him for,
pretty
dude,
much,
which is crazy. And 2016 and 2018, PFF ranked him as the third best left tackle in the league. I think the only people that they had ahead of him during that era was actually Joe Staley and I think Bakhtiari or something like that. So, which is like crazy. But his last full season, like, he was still playing at a very high level. And also, we're getting another dude who's going to be in his contract year, and he's going to have to perform. We saw what Armstead and Jimmy Ward did last season. They played his best season. So, are we going to get somewhere close to Trent Williams? Like, this is his last payday, right? I mean, if he comes out,
I think he knows it too.
Yeah, you give him like a 3-year deal, maybe 4 years or whatever. Like, that's pretty much it for him. So he's probably gonna be more motivated than ever. So maybe we get one full year of Trent Williams, him playing at such a high level and has all the motivation in the world, coming off a healthy year. So we may get the best version of Trent Williams that the NFL has seen, and then maybe he walks away and like, okay, maybe we draft a tackle next season or whatever. But it would be nice to like keep him. But who knows how like all the financial things gonna work out. But Trent Williams, man, that's pretty crazy that they got this
I think
dude.
It is crazy. Yeah, I think cap wise, who knows how it's gonna play out next year. But the thing is, it benefits him and it benefits the Niners too.
Yeah,
like you said, you're gonna get a guy on a contract year. He's gonna have to ball out, whether he wants to get paid by the Niners or any other team in the NFL. He has to play to his Pro Bowl status, you know what I mean? Like, he has to. So regardless, you're going to get somebody who's going to put it on, and he knew this was one of the best situations he could be in, was like, I need to go where I can show, people how I get down and I'm going to get this money. You know what I mean? So that's what I think. You know what I mean? That's why he wanted to go to Shanahan. He's one of the places he wanted to go. I almost feel like he wanted to go to the Niners, and when it was done, he smiled and said, okay, thank you, Washington. I'm out of here. You know what I mean? You're obviously not going to pay me. Plus, whatever happened there, you know what I mean? We're not going to talk about it, but
although we'll just call it the fuckery that happened in Washington.
The unspeakable type of fuckery. But you know what I mean? Like, I think it's going to work out in the Niners' favor. Whether he stays here or not, at least we get somebody for this first year. Especially this giant hole that Joe Staley's going to leave. We get a Pro Bowl player to step in who's familiar with the offense. We don't miss a beat. And like you said, maybe we even get better. Who even knows?
Kind of feels like we're going to get better because he doesn't really miss games. I don't know how many he averaged, like, crazy amount of snaps every single year throughout his like entire year. So it just kind of, the fact of the matter is that Joe Staley did get hurt like last couple seasons. He missed some games.
That's true.
So having somebody that you can just plug in and we know what we're going to get. We're going to get 16 games out of the year, hopefully 19 games out of the year. We may get another Super Bowl run. So it's going to be interesting, and it's going to be also interesting to see his own revenge game because we too play the Redskins. So, I think we're just gonna be like the Vikings and the Packers in the playoffs game last year. We're gonna run the ball like 40, 50 times last year. We ain't throwing at all. Trent Williams is gonna be laying dudes out all game long. Yeah. He wants to, dude.
Dude,
so
you've seen that highlight right
point at Dan
too,
Snyder in the booth.
Yep. Yeah. From all the way at the top, he's gonna point for him. Dude, you seen the highlight tape on him running the like, dude, he's mauling people, man. Straight up. It feels good. It feels good. It's just to kind of bring it back all the way around with Joe Staley. It sucks that he left. But we get Trent Williams here, and I think everything's gonna be all right.
I think so, man. I think that's a good way to end this episode. Everything's gonna be all right, and man, I feel pretty good for this off season. It kind of come to a close. We're just gonna be in. Not a lot of news is going to be coming out after the fact. Yeah. So, as it comes along, you'll definitely hear about our thoughts on West Coast Offense. So don't forget, you can watch all of our episodes on YouTube, listen to all of them on Apple Podcasts, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.
Yo, late.